Welcome to Bandit's Keep Actual Play. I'm Daniel. We are continuing my solo original Dungeons & Dragons campaign today. We're using Chainmail for the combat system and outdoor survival to kind of move our characters around. Well, we're revisiting the Rangers. Now, and I'll talk about this a little bit more at the table, but I had been using one-to-one time, and again, I'll get back into that. And, well, I had to take a big break, and they were in the field. So we're going to start off this episode by discussing how I'm going to handle that and some different ideas of how you could handle something like that. Then we'll get into it. So let's see what's up with the Rangers. Okay, it is October the 6th, and we have a little bit of a dilemma here. So if you've been following this, you know I've been using effectively one-to-one time because I run multiple groups here, multiple groups that I'm playing, of course. And that's worked really well because I've normally gotten the groups back to camp, if you will, at the end of each, session or sessions when I sit and play for a couple of days here when I have a weekend or something. And when I left the Rangers, this group here, I had every intention of playing in 2 days. But life happened, and it's been 2 months almost. So there's lots of different ways you could handle this, and I've come up with 3 options, because when you're playing solo, you often want to let the dice decide. That is to say, if I was running with a group of players, we would just have a conversation about it and decide how we want to handle it. But I think with solo, the dice are the option. So I have this group, and I also have the other storyline, the hero and the hobbit. And I'm going to handle them 2 different ways, I think, because they're 2 different types of game sessions, if you will. Let me just talk for 1 second about the idea of the one-to-one time and why I was using it and why I'm going to do what I do. One-to-one time, if you don't know, is effectively the idea that you use the world's calendar. So if we are adventuring today, October 6th, it's October 6th in the world. Since these characters have not moved since mid-August, they've essentially been sitting where they are. Now, when they're at home in a home camp, that's fine. They're at the tavern, they're getting their equipment ready, they're searching for rumors. You can just kind of hand wave whatever's going on. When they're literally in the field, though, that becomes difficult. And there's lots of solutions that I've heard people talk about if somebody misses a session or this and that. And I think some of them are useful if you miss one session here or there, and maybe I would do that. But normally when you're running one-to-one time in this way, in such a strict way, it's because you have other groups of players. That is to say that player group A and player group B are both playing, and then let's say player group A, it doesn't play for a little bit, well, player group B can take advantage. That assumes the Dungeon Master is running all the time. In this case, it was me, the Dungeon Master, who's also the player, that made this happen. So I don't want to necessarily penalize this group because I couldn't play, if that makes sense. So what I've come up with is 3 options, because again, I think the dice should decide. One option is that I just run the game at wherever we are in August. I'd have to add it up, but I think we're like around August 10th or something, until we get back to the village, and then just lock this group in until they basically say, okay, well, you did an adventure and now it's August or October, I guess it would be now. That's one option. And that's probably what I would do if I was playing with a group of players. If I was actually playing with a single group of players and nobody had played, that's likely what I would do in this case. The other thing I might consider doing is saying, hey, let's do a little bit of a retcon. Instead of them camping out in the wilderness, let's just say on the date in August, they just headed back. So we play one session now where we just bring them back to camp, and then we fast forward to this day, and then we can deal with it from there. The third option, which is one you see a lot with the kind of what I'll call the hardcore people, is that, oh no, they're in the field, we're going to roll wandering monsters every day, and we're going to have to deal with it. That's the least likely thing that I want to do, but I'm still going to throw it on here because, hey, let's see how it plays out. Just because I say I don't like it doesn't mean that it wouldn't work. So I've set up some percentages, which you probably can't read by terrible handwriting. I'm going to go 50% that we're just going to play in August until I get them back to camp, which I will try to do as quickly as possible, but they're going to try to complete what they're doing, which is delving this dungeon. So in a sense, this group is going to be in the past in the world, right? If you think about it that way. That's going to be 50%. 40% I'm going to do the other thing where I say, oh, we're going to retcon, they're just going to go back to town. I am going to play it out because they're pretty far away from town, but I'm just going to do that and then start them back at town and they'll have to come back again. That can also be fun, so 40% for that. And then 10% I'm going to say we're going to do the hardcore method where we're just going to roll a bunch of wandering monsters, which is 2 months worth of wandering monsters, and see what could have possibly happened. Again, I think that's probably the worst case scenario, and honestly, as I start doing it, if they get sieged by wandering monsters, they're probably going to retreat and go back to town anyways. But let's just roll the dice and see. So the red die will be my, read the red die first, if you will. 82. Oh, so close to the terrible one. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to set up the map board, and we're going to go back to town. And then that's going to lock this group into town. Then I'm probably going to actually leave the Rangers there for a second and play another group, because I haven't played my other groups in a while. Now, while I'm here, though, with set up with this, for the hero and the hobbit, I have a little bit of a different situation. For them, because that campaign is very narrative, and it's very much about a story, and not just like dungeon delving, not that this doesn't have a story, but it's very locked into, they would not have hit up for 2 months necessarily. So I think in that case, what my plan is going to be, 80%, we're just going to go back in time and just play it out to get to, a safe spot, which would have been like option 2 for the Rangers, or option 1 for the Rangers, I should say. And that's going to be 80%. And then 20%, I'm going to play it out. But the way I'm going to play it out is I'm just going to use the deck of signs and some dice, and we're going to narrate out what happened for the 2 months. We're not going to roll dice and actually role play. We're just going to tell a story of what actually happened and just leave them where they're at. So here we go. Again, red die first. 87. Okay. So we are going to use the deck of signs to basically catch the hero and the hobbit up without actually engaging too much in the rules of OD&D. We're going to do a little bit of a story game for that session, possibly this same video. I don't know. It depends on how long things take. But if not this video, the next one, that will catch everybody up to the, quote, real world time. And then we'll get back to the normal pace. And that's how I'm handling it. I would love to know how you would handle such a thing if you run 1-to-1 time. And, would you have said, oh no, you're rolling wandering monsters for 2 months? Do you think that would be fun? I don't know. Let me know what you would have done. But this is what I'm doing. So to recap, the Rangers, we're going to set up outdoor survival. They're going to move back to their home base, hopefully survive and get there. And then they'll be active again at today's date. The hero and the hobbit are I'm going to use the deck of signs from Tales of Argosa and maybe some other dice to effectively tell the rest of the story of what was going on with them. All right, let's get to it. Because we kind of went back in time and we're going to home base. It is August 11th in world. I put everything back where it should be. Just as a reminder, if you don't remember or if you're new here, basically what's going on is the following. The main group of adventurers is here. That includes the vast majority of the party, save for this character, that's why I moved them. And that one member of the party with our henchmen are here at an encampment. The Balrog / Orc lair is here. Oh, I think I moved it. I think it was here. The Balrog / Orc lair is here. We're going to avoid that. The dungeon we were diving is right there with the skeleton. So what we're going to do is we're going to move from here to here, pick up our foot soldiers and stuff, and then come back. Just to give you a breakdown, we have our party members here. I believe there's 5 of them. And here we have 1 party member plus 8 horsemen, light horse, because they took horses from the enemy, and then 14 heavy foot. We also have some wagons with draft horses, and we have some camp followers. So that don't really count unless we end up getting totally wiped out. Then obviously those characters may or may not survive. So what we're going to do, again, like I said, we're going to move to there, pick up our group, and we're going to move on. So the way this works is we're using a combination of outdoor survival and original Dungeons & Dragons. And I'm going to do the camp first. When you don't move, you roll an encounter twice that day. So I'm going to roll a white die for the morning, a black die for the evening. Okay. On a 5 or a 6 in the woods, basically, or on the trail, you get an encounter. So there's going to be an encounter that evening. And because they won't get there until the next day, I know that because we already traveled this once, I'm just going to handle this first before I move the other group. If you were trying to do things properly, you might, I'll do it that way. I'll do it the right way, if you will. So they're going to have an encounter. Let's leave that there. Let's roll to see if they get lost. They're in the clear. On the roll of a 1, they get lost. They do not. So they can move their full 10 movement. And the clear only costs 1 movement point. So effectively, I can move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a path, so I can go over there. 8, 9. That's food. I could actually move to this path. But here I'd have a chance of an encounter on a 5 or a 6, and here I'd only have it on a 6, so I'm going to stay there. Plus, I'm on a food supply, which is always good. So let's roll to see if they have an encounter. Again, it would only be on a 6. They do not. Okay. So I'm just going to mark this day off. And we're going to jump back to this group for the evening encounter. They're on a path, but when you're in a path, you count the terrain as the terrain the path's going through. So woods, I'm going to roll a d8. I got 3. Giant. Okay, so giant doesn't mean giants necessarily. It means giant type, which we see here. And I believe that there are 10 of those. Is that 10? Yeah. Oh, 12. Okay, there's 12 of those. Okay. 8. Of course, on this page. Giants. Look at that. Giants can be really tough depending on what kind of giant it is, but let's take a quick look here. Oh, right, it won't be here. So in the monster manual, it tells you that 60% of giants are hill giants, and then it breaks down 10% for each additional kind. So let's just roll red die first. Oh, 1 day has gone by. Okay, hill giants. All right, so let's take a look. Hill giants are not terrible. I mean, they are terrible, but they're not the worst possible thing I could run into because they're actually not considered fantastic creatures, which means these regular people can actually fight them. If it was like one of the more specialized types of giants, like a frost giant, then regular soldiers can't fight them, so that can be very problematic. All right, so our giants come in a group of 1 to 8. Let's hope for... So what we always hope for here is either like 1 or 8, because 1 we might be able to actually defeat in combat, and 8 we have a better chance of running from. 4, the worst. All right, let's see. So we got 4 giants. They are... A hill giant, I believe, is 8 hit dice. Yeah, they're 8 hit dice, so we'll see if that comes up. There's 4 giants. We're going to try to evade them, as I said. This group is a total of 23, so we fall into this category here. There's between 26 and 60% of them, so that's a 30% chance to evade them. We are in the woods, so we have a 25% additional, so we have a 55% chance. Let me just check their speed. I don't think that they're faster than we are. The speed is 12, so it's the same. All right, but before we do any of that, we have to check for surprise. Black die is the enemy being surprised. The white die is us being surprised. They're surprised. Okay, so if an enemy is surprised, we can automatically evade them without any kind of a roll. We can just say we're going to evade them. We could also ambush them. Let me think about that for a second. It'd be risky. Giants fight as armored foot. So basically, we're talking about 8 armored foot apiece. They can also throw stones, which is pretty terrible. I'm just looking up the monster listing here for my specific rules on these. I think that they're going to be more than... If there was 1, I think we'd ambush them, because why not? You know, treasure and all that. But I think with 4 of them, that's going to be more than we want to take on. If I had the whole group here, I might do it, but with 1... Hill and stone giants to attack and defend is the number of armored foot equal to their hit dice. So they'd be 8 armored foot. Now... We do have light horsemen, so we could, 8 of which, so I think that basically makes an even odd, and then they actually could use their longbow to affect against them. But again, I think because there's so many giants, I think we're just going to get wiped out if we do that. So we're just going to avoid them. We avoid the giants, but I am going to check to see if it's their lair, because we could always come back. Because again, if I had the whole party here, I might actually try this. Giants have a 30% chance of being in their lair. So somewhere in this 5-mile hex, there might be a giant's lair. There is not. They're passing through. Okay, so that day goes by, and we're moving on to the next day. I'm just good. They're not moving, and actually the group will get there by the afternoon, but I'm still going to roll a morning possible encounter for them. So for the camp, is there an encounter? There is. Okay, so there's an encounter here. And let's roll for these guys. Do they get lost? 2. They do not. Okay. So they're going to get there midway through the day. Let's just check to see if... Let's do a little... I'm going to roll the bones. Let's say, do they get there before the encounter happens? Okay. yes, but no, and that's the decider dice. So no, they don't, but something positive. Okay. I don't know what the positive might be, but we'll see if that could be something. Actually, you know what I say what the positive is? I'm going to say the positive is that's the only encounter of the day. So they'll get there and I'm not going to roll again. All right, so I'm not going to move them yet. Let's handle this encounter first. So again, we're in the woods. We're going to roll a d8. 8. Haha, dragons. Well, that's always nice. Dragon means dragon table. So here's the dragon table. We're going to roll a d12. 7. Cockatrice. Ooh. Well, we fought cockatrice before, and they can be pretty terrible. So let's see exactly what we get here. Let's leave the evasion chart up, because we might just try to avoid them. I kind of don't want to avoid them. It's a little meta, but again, I'm playing kind of a board game at this point, because if the group has to run, then, you know, they won't be able to meet up. So I'm not going to have them leave the hex, but I am going to try to just hide from them. You know, evasion just means you're kind of moving away, right? So there's only from 1 to 8 of them. So here we always hope for a very big number or a very small number. A big number, like 6, means that we're probably going to have a better chance of avoiding them. A small number means we could actually fight them. So 6 into 8, so that's more than 60%. And this is still this size group. So we have a 50% chance to avoid them. We are in the forest, so we have a 75% chance, but first we have to check to see if either side is surprised. So again, black is the enemy, white is us. Nobody is surprised. We can avoid them at a 75% chance. And we rolled a 79, so we did not avoid them. So we have 2 options here. We can either move 1 hex in a random direction, which means that our group are not going to be, you know, together tomorrow, or we can stay and fight. I think we're going to fight them. There's only 4 cockatrices, and while they are tough, they're not the toughest things that we've ever encountered. So a cockatrice is, they fight as only 4 Lightfoot each. So there were 6 of them, right? But what's interesting about them that makes them powerful is that they have to be hit 4 times simultaneously, much like the player characters do. So it makes them a little bit tougher than if they were just 4 Lightfoot. So because nobody was surprised, we're going to roll encounter distance. Okay, 7. So they're 7 inches away. And I think what we're going to do is anybody with a bow is going to, which is basically only her, is going to shoot at them as they charge in. The rest of the group is going to stand fast and allow them to charge. So it doesn't matter who wins initiative, because I'm not going to bother. I'm going to let them move first, because we're going to shoot them with arrows as they approach. So she fights as 2 + 1, which means she'll roll 2 dice and add 1 to one of them. But she also has a longbow. Okay. Hold on. Did that wrong. So the way the combat works, again, is I'm going to look up longbow versus Lightfoot. Lightfoot, she gets 1 die per figure, 4 through 6 hits. At 7, she'd be in short range anyways, but also they're going to be closer than that. So she'll be in short range as well. So she gets 1 die per figure. She fights as 2 figures, +1, so she gets to add 1 to one of those. But also, she's in short range, and she gets a bonus because of her dex. So I'm rolling 4d6, okay? Any 4, 5s, or 6s are kills, and I can add 1 to one of these. Okay, 1, 2, 3, because I can add 1 to that. So that's 3 hits against one of these cockatrices. So again, I'm gonna track that over here, because they got to get 4 hits to kill one. So this round, I got 1, 2, 3 hits against one as they're charging in. Now they charge in. It would be nice to kill one before it got to us, because then they wouldn't all get to attack. Now we're gonna do our attacks against them. We have 8 light horse. So again, if we look at light horse versus Lightfoot, 2 dice per figure, 5 and 6 hits. So we have 8 light horse. 5s and 6s hit. I'm going to roll this twice. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4 more hits. Okay. Again. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more. And then I have a heavy foot. Boy, with a whole group like this, it's a little easier to beat these guys. Heavy foot versus light foot, 1 die per figure, 5s and 6. Okay, and I have 14 of them. So I'm going to roll 7 dice twice. Again, 5s and 6s are hitting. They didn't do quite as good with only 1 hit. And one hit, okay. All right, that's a total of 15 hits for me. And again, if I divide that by 4, that's basically 3. So I've killed 3. I'm going to kill 3 cockatrices this turn. So, however, because everything's simultaneous, they're going to get all of their attacks. So, generally speaking, because we're in a group like this, again, we're going to take the average, and we have light horse. She would also be on the horse. I guess she wasn't on a horse because she was shooting with her bow. The player character always gets hit last when using mercenaries, though, so I'm not really going to worry about them right now. We have 8 horse that are light horse, and then we have 14 heavy foots. That's the majority, so we're going to treat the attack against heavy foot. So light foot against heavy foot is 1 die per 2. So again, we've got 24. So we have, because 6 times 4 is 24, and then divide that by 2, so we have 12. So I'm going to roll 6 twice, and any 6s are hits. 1, 2, 3. 4. Now, the cockatrices, when they hit somebody, they turn them to stone, basically. Assuming that they kill them, and they did, because these guys only have 1 hit die because they are heavy foot. So that's 4 of these guys are gone. Okay. Oh boy, okay. And that's the end of round 1. Okay. At this point, the cockatrices have lost half of their troops, so I'm going to roll a morale for them. They've got to beat an 8 to stay in combat. Oh, they do. Okay. They are fighting. So once again, let's jump back to our side. The player character has now joined the horse. Does she have a... Oh, actually, no. Does she not even have a sword? Oh, I know what I did there. Okay. She should have taken a weapon from somebody else. I'm just going to say she's got a dagger, because everybody has a dagger. I'm not going to worry too much about that, though, because, again... So she's Lightfoot versus Lightfoot, which is 1 die per figure, 6 hits, and she gets a +1. Okay. So she gets 1 hit there. Let's show it on this piece of paper. So we're tracking the... oh, now they're in melee. So that's 1 hit from her. Now let's go back to our... She doesn't have a lance or anything, so she couldn't have got on her horse. Let's go back to our horse. Again, the horses hit on 5s and 6s, and they get 2 die per figure. So... 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So the horses are attacking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits. Okay. That's 1 strike. They get 2 of them. 1, 2, 3 hits. Okay. And then our footmen, we have 10 of them left. So I think I have 10 dice here. I'm just going to roll 10 dice, and they hit on a 5 or a 6. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's 12. So 12 divided by 4 is 3, and there was only 3 of them left. So that's going to kill all the cockatrices this turn. But again, they still get to attack. So there are 3 of them. Times 4 is 12 divided by 2. So they're going to roll 6 dice with any 6s hitting. Reroll that because it wasn't in the thing. 1, 2. So 2 more of my heavy foot go down. Okay, leaving only 9 left. All right, well, that was tough. The party's going to show up. We have some unfortunate people that were turned to stone. I mean, I don't feel like we can carry back those bodies because I know we did with the ghouls and stuff, but this is now, that's a lot of weight to carry back. So we're going to have to tend to them here, which we will do. So I rolled, they weren't lost, so they're actually going to get with the group. So the group is here at the end of the day. And we're going to set out tomorrow. If you've been enjoying these videos, and I hope you have, please do take a second to like the video if you haven't already. You could subscribe to the channel to get more content like this. You could also ring the bell. That way you get notifications when new videos are made. If you check the description below, you're going to find links to most of the stuff I use here. If I'm using something in the game and you have no idea what it is or I didn't put a link, please do ask. I will do my best to find you a link. Also down there, you'll find a link to my Discord server if you want to join the community and my Patreon if you want to support the channel. I'll talk to you soon.